Hey everyone, my name is Sok. I am a Masters TFT player that recently got my girlfriend Shu addicted to the game. She is currently in silver on her way to gold. Unfortunately, Miss Shu today is out. She is in a different part of the country and unable to record with me. As a result, I'll be recording by myself and she'll hopefully watch it later on and be able to learn from this video. For this video specifically, we will be talking about the Academy trait. I will also showcase one of my games with Academy. And that game has some interesting pieces that contributes to why Academy is good. So first, let's just start by talking about Academy and what it does. Academy offers 3 sponsored items every single game. I would say these items are random, but I'll show you on the next page the possibilities for which items are sponsored. These sponsored items basically make whoever holds them stronger, and if they're an Academy unit, they get even stronger still. So they actually get double the bonus as a normal person holding it, plus a additional 5% health and damage amp. So as you can see in the example we have here on the left, we have Crown Guard, Deathblade, and Redemption as our 3 sponsored items. If I build any of these items and I put it on someone, it will make like a little noise, and then that unit will get additional damage amp as well as additional health. So you may ask, why is Academy good and when do I play Academy? Well, Academy is very strong if you get an early Ezreal. Ezreal is normally what people struggle on getting because it's a 3 cost, which happens around the mid game. But if you get one, for example, from your first creep round drop, or if you get lucky and just find one, it's a great spot to play Academy. If you don't have the other 2, Lux and Leona, you can always just play Rebel. Ezreal is a Rebel and works as a great backline. There's plenty of Rebels that you can find early game to make a board that will be fine until you get Academy. If you don't find an Ezreal, you can still have a pretty decent early game if you do get a Lux 2. If you have a Lux 2, I would recommend just playing Sentinel and Sorcerer until you get to Academy. The other thing to keep a lookout for is just your mid game. Mid game is generally strong for Academy because you just get extra items. Probably 1, but if you get lucky and get an early Jace or an Emblem or a Heimerdinger, you could have 2 or even potentially 3 extra items that other people do not have. That makes a huge difference when there's only 4 or 5 items on the board. You're essentially 1 item up from everyone else on the lobby, and that 1 item is stronger. Okay. Additionally, this comp has a pretty decent late game as well because we have multiple carries. We have the obvious ones such as Heimerdinger, who can be AP. We have Jace, who is AD in the backline. He's very good in the backline. We have Corki, which synergizes with Ezreal and gives us Artillerist. He's also a great AD holder. And then we have Rumble, who can sit out in the front. He synergizes with all of the Sentinels, and he does quite a bit of damage. The next thing that's very good about Academy is there's a very smooth transition on level up. When you level up from 4 to 5 and you find an Ezreal, you put in the Ezreal. When you level up from 6 to 7 and you find a Heimerdinger, you put in a Heimerdinger. Whenever you find a Jace, you can put him in on level up. So for example, you might have level 6 with Lux and Leona and Ezreal. And then on level 7, you will pull in the Heimerdinger. And then on level 8, maybe you would take out the Lux and put in 2 Sentinels. And that way you always kind of have a smooth transition every single time you level up. This is also a very good trait to consider when you have a Victor encounter. The whole point of a Victor encounter is you might get a 6 cost as soon as 4-2. With some of the other traits, it's definitely harder to work around. Let's say you're playing Rebel and you just can't take out a Rebel, or you go from 7 Rebel to 6 Rebel. That feels really bad. But if you're playing Academy and currently you have 4 Academy and you take out the Lux to go down to 3 Academy, that's fine. You lose an item, but you gain a Victor or you gain a Mel. I think those are probably better. So if you see Victor, definitely consider Academy as an option because it works very well as Victor. Another synergy that I rarely see people talk about is with the Vi encounter. In fact, when I was chatting with my girlfriend, Miss Shu, I asked her to think about the Vi encounter with component anvils and what comps she would go. And after thinking about it, she said that she would probably go with scrap because 2 component anvils means 2 additional items, which means additional shields for the scrap units. I think that is correct. There's also an argument to be made that you can use component anvils to go for reroll comps because you can make the perfect items. Let's say you want to go Kog'Maw, you can make his best in slot items. If you want to go Zeri or Urgot, you can make all of their best in slot items to make sure they're as strong as possible. But I do want to make a case here for Vi encounter and Academy. Academy essentially scales with the number of Academy items that you have. And Vi encounter allows you to almost ensure you have multiple copies of each Academy item. And this is something I show in the game that I'm about to go over. The game itself is a little bit of exaggeration. You will see why, but it will help you understand how Vi encounter can allow for multiple early Academy items, which will make you very strong going throughout the game. Now let's look at the bonuses for Academy and whether they're good or not. Okay, so if we read Academy again, Academy gets a bonus, 2% health and damage at 3, 3% at health and damage at 4, 5% at 5, 9% at 6. So you might say, hey, this does not look like a lot of improvements, but then you got to realize that it's doubled for Academy units. Let's look at, for example, 4 Academy units. This is very possible at level 7 or level 8, especially if you have an emblem. That means you have something like Lux, Leona, Ezreal, and Heimer or emblem. So here we're at 4 academies, okay? If we're at 4 academies and you put a academy item onto an academy unit, you will get 3% health and damage doubled. So that means 6% health as well as 6% damage, and you will get an additional 5% health and additional 5% damage. So that means 11% health and 11% damage for each item. This stacks. So you can put 2 items or 3 items that are sponsored on an academy unit, and you will get 11% damage and 11% health for each item. If we come over here and we look at the passive for a Deathblade, you get 10% damage increase, and if we look at the passive for a Warmonks, you get 12% max health. So what we're seeing here is if you're a 4 academy, every single item that goes onto an academy unit gives you a Deathblade passive of 10% damage. It's actually 11, so a little stronger. And a Warmonk's bonus of 11% health. So I guess it's slightly less, but it's still very, very good. So that means if you have 4 academies and you put in 3 of the sponsored items on an academy unit, they're gaining 33% damage as well as 33% max health in addition to the bonuses of the item itself, which is crazy because you also get 2 of them absolutely for free by just having the traits in. So this is very strong. And another thing to consider when looking at Academy is the items themselves. If you get specialized traits, you can make many, many more items. So let's look at some examples. So for example, we have High Voltage, which gives you a free Ionic Spark. If you have Ionic Spark as one of your sponsor items, this gives you another one. And that's great because they both increase in range and they both increase in more damage. And if you get High Voltage, it doesn't hurt to make even more Ionic Sparks. If this is a sponsored item, you can make 3 Ionic Sparks throughout the game and slam them all on your front line. Same thing with Stormplate Armor. This gives you a Bramble Vest, which is very good early game and also kind of skills to the late game, depending on the rest of the lobby and how many are AP and how many are AD. You also have Unleash the Beast, which gives you a Steris Gauge. Although, if you do get Unleash the Beast, I would probably recommend something like a Urgot reroll, which is currently very, very strong. Again, Dragon Spirit, if you get Dragon Spirit and Dragon's Claw is one of the sponsored items, you're going to have a very tanky front line. Category 5, this is a great item on Ezreal actually, because how Ezreal's ability works is he shoots twice. He shoots an initial shot and then shoots a follow-up shot immediately afterwards. Both of these trigger Category 5, which means you can put 3 Ruden's Hurricanes on Ezreal, pumping up his damage and also allowing him to hit almost the entire board every single time he attacks and twice every single time he casts. We also have Anger Issue, which transforms all of the items into Ginsu's Rageblade. This would be good on Academy if Rageblade is one of the sponsored items. However, if you do get this, I will probably recommend going Zeri reroll. That's very, very strong with Anger Issues right now. Next is Belt Overflow. Warmonks can be a sponsored item. And if you get Belt Overflow with Warmonks being a sponsored item, this is essentially 2 free Warmonks. And the Warmonks now give bonus health for each of the belts in them. This applies to the free Warmonks from Academy as well. Again, we also have Wand Overflow. Let's say we have Death Cap as one of our sponsored items. This would be amazing for that. Sword Overflow, in the example that I show here, Deathblade is one of my Academy items. So having Sword Overflow would essentially mean I have 2.5 Deathblades, which already give me more damage, but then gives me even more damage from Academy. So let's talk about what is possible with the sponsored items. Here is a list of all of the possible sponsored items. You don't need to remember them all. Just check at the start of the game. There's a good chance someone has a Lux on their board. Scroll through the boards, see who has a Lux, right click on her, mouse over Academy, and it will tell you the 3 items that are sponsored for that game. So these are all of the possibilities. Some of them are better than others. For example, we see here Spear Shojin, Warmonks, and Titans. This would be an amazing start for Academy. I would definitely consider going to Academy if I saw this as a start. But something that can be seen as bad may still be good, if that makes sense. In the game that I will showcase, I get Crown Guard, Deathblade, and Redemption. This is not the best combo of items for Academy, but what it means is that other people probably will not play Academy, which means you will be able to hit all of your units quickly and be stronger even though you have worse items. So let's look at the items themselves and where you put them. So at the start of the game, we're going to have primarily 1 cost. You want to stick the AP as well as the AD items on Lux, because you can have 3 items on Lux. At the start of the game, you don't have that many items, so let's just put them all onto your backline carry, all of the AD and AP items. And from a tank perspective, you'll probably start with an Aurelia. Maybe you're going Rebel build, or maybe you're just getting 2 Sentinels. She can hold all of your tank items. Afterwards, as we upgrade, we're going to put in Ezreal. We're going to put the AD items on Ezreal. We're going to put the tank items on Leona. And eventually we'll pick up something like a Heimerdinger, and that's probably where we'll park the AP items. They could also eventually go on Rumble, depending on what the items are. As we keep on upgrading, we can also change our item carriers for AD and tank. We can start itemizing Corki, and then eventually, hopefully, we get a Jace, and we can start itemizing Jace as well as Corki. In terms of tanks, we go Aurelia, we go into Leona as our academy item holder. Eventually, we go into Alaoi, which is extremely strong. And here is where you can consider putting items onto Alaoi. You do lose bonuses because she is not a academy unit, but Alaoi 2 is very strong, and she honestly can carry whole fights. So sometimes it's fine to just stick items on her, especially if you get an early Alaoi 2. Eventually, you'll also have Rumble. Rumble does a lot of damage. He's also a great person to hold some of the academy items, even though he does lose the bonus technically. Okay. And then on the top right here, you see an example of what a finished comp looks like. This is by no means the complete final comp. You can, for example, take the Corki out and put in a Jace, or you can go down to maybe 4 Rebels and you can put the Lux as well as the Jason, and this will allow you to have much more damage as well as more sponsored items and stronger academy bonuses. Okay, this is the quick overview of how academy works. Let's now jump into the game to showcase why Vi works extremely well, Vi encounter specifically with academy, and how you can just stack academy items and be very strong. So we'll speed it up a little bit since it's just kind of me today. Shu is unfortunately not here. So here I see Vi. Again, when I see Vi, people generally recommend reroll comps or scrap, but I haven't seen anyone recommend going academy. And that's the first thing I think about. I can go academy here, and I can build these items that are not very strong, but that also means no one is going academy, which is great. So I already started with a chest plate, which is a good start because my first item will probably be a crown guard. So now I get a belt. Again, another good start. I have redemption and crown guard. If I pull a rod and a tier from these two chests, I can make that. So actually, I got quite lucky here. I got a belt and a tier together. If we look at the items here, we have diversified portfolio, which gives you gold depending on the number of non-unique traits. This is something that I would consider if I had something like an Urgot, which allows me to build a board that has many traits. I don't know if that's what I'm going for currently. 1, 2, 3 is just in general a extremely good early game augment that allows you to be very strong. The issue here though is I already have a Lux 2, which means I'm already quite strong, so it's probably not the best. Spoils of War is interesting because I do want to win streak. However, because I want to play Academy and I don't have the units for Academy yet, I don't know if I'm quite strong enough to start win streaking yet. So let's see what I do and what I roll. So I decided to roll all of them and I got Component Anvil. This is great, right? For the same reason why Academy works so well with Vi, Component Anvil works so well with Academy. It allows all of my items to be Component Anvils, which means it's very likely for me to get all of the sponsor items. So here I get Redemption. So I make a little bit of a mistake here. I believe I choose the Giant's Belt. Oh, no, that's right. So here I make a little bit of a mistake. I believe I make a Giant's Belt, but then I realized that's probably not a good idea to have multiple redemptions. So I probably should have gone for something else. Maybe I should have gone for a Tier of the Goddess so that I can start build towards a tier for my eventual Heimerdinger. But I made the belt and then I realized I probably don't want too many redemptions. So as you can see, this is one of the starts I'm talking about where I did not get an Ezreal. And as you can see, I'm playing Sentinel Sorcerers and I am winning. That person did not level up, but regardless, this team is actually not bad. It's a good starting point for playing Academy. I also have a duplicator, which I could technically use to duplicate to get a 2-star Aurelia or a 2-star Zyra. But currently, I don't think I'm quite there yet. I'm not trying to win streak at this moment because I'm missing Academy, which is kind of the key ingredient to my success. So sometimes I would copy just for tempo, but this is not one of those times. So one thing I probably could have done better is to scout around to see who else might be playing Academy. I did not do that specifically because of how bad, quote unquote, the Academy items are this game. I seriously doubt that anyone is playing Academy, and I was correct. But in hindsight, I probably should have scouted just to make sure. So here again, I look at items that I want to pick up. I could have picked up something like a chest, but I decided that I'm just going to go with a Leona to get a tier, which allows me to make another redemption if I want it, but also to give me a second Leona. So here, I do decide that I'm strong enough and I want to start win streaking. So because of that, I copy my Leona to make sure I had a 2-star Leona. I also look around the board and see that no one else is playing Academy. So this is a great spot to start going Academy. So I'm doing quite well at the moment. And the only thing that I'm really missing is just an Ezreal. Sometimes it might take a sec, so we'll see how it goes. The other thing here is I have quite a tanky front line now. Because of that, I thought that Archangel would be a good slam here because the front line will keep my Lux alive for quite some time. And during that time, Archangel will stack up and Lux will be able to shield them and protect them while doing massive damage to the enemy. So here I decided to sell a Rel to get 20 gold. I think it's quite important to be able to make economy if possible, especially if you're winning, because that means you can turn that win streak into a level lead, into a unit lead, making you very strong. I got very lucky here and I got 2 Rels, instantly giving me a Rel 2. So I'm looking at items and I see 2 BF swords. Generally, BF sword is probably not the optimized item for Lux. However, she is a good item holder because she is very strong. So right now I upgraded to 4 Sentinels just for an even tankier front line, with my Lux sitting in the back just growing stronger and stronger with her Archangels. So I don't remember if so I did end up losing that round, which was a little unfortunate. If I look at these items, I do see one of the items I was talking about, which is high voltage. If one of my sponsored items was a Ionic Spark, this would have been an instant take. I also see Starry Night, which is okay. I don't think I want to do a low level reroll, so I don't want this item, this augment most likely. Bulky Buddies in general is just a good trait. However, it sometimes griefs your positioning, which makes it a little suboptimal. So let's see what I do here, but I expect I would roll all 3 of these possibilities. So I roll all 3. I see Little Buddy, which is beneficial because I do have a few 1 cost and 2 cost, but I don't have any 4 cost or 5 cost yet. So picking this right now does nothing for my board, which is not good. The next one is Crown Guard. It does list as a C tier item, but as you know, one of my sponsored items is a Crown Guard, which means I have a free Crown Guard already. And now that Crown Guard, as well as this new Crown Guard, will both be stronger. So like I said, that's a great synergy. If you see something that aligns with your Academy item, 9 times out of 10, that's probably the augment that you want to pick, especially at lower ELOs when you're just starting the game. So I decide to go Crown Guard, and now I have 2 Crown Guards, each giving benefits for my team once I find an Ezreal. I decide to level up a little more and put in 2 Enforcers. This doesn't really make my board that much stronger, but what it does allow me to do is get closer to my Ezreal. Now I have a 25% chance of getting a 3 cost, which could give me an Ezreal hopefully soon because I really want to make use of all of the sponsored items that I've made. So unfortunately, I still don't have an Ezreal, but as you can see, even at 3-2, 3-3, just the 2-star Lux is sufficient to keep winning until you find your Ezreal. So this guy is going Urgot reroll, which is quite strong. It's very tanky and does a lot of damage. So I imagine I'll probably lose this round. So here I see a Ezreal on the carousel. I imagine I actually would take it because it allows me to complete my comp, or at least allow me to start having sponsored items. So here we get another Crown Guard. Now we have 3 Crown Guard and a Redemption, as well as a Deathblade. I decide to give the Deathblade to the Ezreal. So now as you can see, I have a very, very tanky board. Literally all I'm doing is just stacking the sponsored items, but it's making me a lot stronger. So again, like I said, this route is very easy for leveling. On my next level, I'm just planning on putting in another Rebel in. If I get a Heimerdinger, I'll put in another Heimerdinger. And when I get to level 8, I'm planning on just putting in 6 Sentinels if possible. Okay, so I did not get another Rebel, but I did get a Corki, which will give me Artillerist, which is very good. So here I'm just planning on my team. So I think I just put in the Corki to give me Artillerist. So here I decided to make a rep buff because rep buff will allow me to get some burn. And that burn will help me get through some of the tankier enemies who have heals. So as you can see, my carry right now is a 2-star Lux and a 1-star Ezreal and a no item Corki. But my front line is just so tanky with all of the sponsor items. So here I decided to go Shield Bash, which again works very well with my extremely tanky front line. Something like Crown Guard actually works quite well with Alawi, for example, because Alawi skills with AP and allows her to heal more by siphoning off more HP from the opponent. So again, if we look at the HP for our front line, they're barely moving because of how much HP and durability and damage that we get from Crown Guard. Excuse me, we don't get durability, but it does give us a lot of stats, which is great. So normally you want to level up at level 8 at 4-2. However, I felt that I was not contested in this comp, and that allows me to level up a little later, gives me a little more gold to spend when I'm rolling down. It allows me to play a little greedier. So here I see a Jace, which would be absolutely amazing, but it was taken immediately. So instead, I'm just looking for stuff to give me even more Crown Guards. I don't know if this is the best option. I think it's not. It's probably better if I varied up my build a little bit, but I thought it was funny to build a bunch of Crown Guards, so here we are. So here I was very lucky. I got a 2-star Alawi very quickly. This gives me 3 Sentinels. Sorry, 3 Rebels. I do have 5 Sentinels, so I expect I will be switching to 6 Sentinels soon. So here I get Fortify, which just makes her very, very tanky. So finally, I get Heimerdinger, and I decide that I'm just going to go 4 Sentinels and use Heimerdinger to get even more Academy. So I put a rod onto the Alawi. It's not a very big thing, but it does make her slightly stronger. And because I know I have component anvils, it's very likely that I'll get what I want, which is another chain vest. So again, you don't need to just constantly slam every single Academy item. I am definitely going overboard here to prove a point. So now if you see a Vi encounter, do consider going Academy, because Academy along with those 2 anvil components will mean that you essentially have 2 free Academy items starting off the bat, which is very, very strong. So as you can see here, my Alawi has more shield than she has health with 3 Crown Guard. Is it the best build? Probably not. Is it pretty funny? I think so. So here I move items over to Heimer. It's slightly better. So now I'm just trying to level up to level 9. When I get to level 9, I could do a few things. Okay, again, I put 3 Deathblade onto the Corki, which is more for just, I thought it was funny more than anything else. There was probably an argument to put all 3 of these onto the Ezreal, because Ezreal is an Academy unit, which means he would have more health and more damage. In fact, in hindsight, I probably think I would have put into the Ezreal. If you guys have any thoughts, please let me know on whether it would be better on the Ezreal versus the Corki. Corki is the stronger unit, but Ezreal is an Academy, which means he'll receive more bonuses. So here I decide to take a Jace. Jace will allow me to get 5 Academy and another item. This is really, really good because I have so many items right now. It also gives me a Conqueror spat, which is not the best thing in the world, but I do have a Conqueror in Rel, so it does allow me to get 2 Conqueror. So as you can see, my Alawi is extremely tanky now, and it's allowing me to win basically off of her tanking the whole team while the rest of my team does damage. And again, if you look at this build, it looks awful, to be honest, with so many Crown Guards and so many Deathblades. But it somehow works because of Academy and just how strong Academy is. So here at level 9, I think I would just stay here. I'm looking for the Heimer 2, and I'm looking for the Jace 2. The reason why I kind of leveled up to level 9 also is because I was super ahead in the lead. I was first place. And there's this idea of trading HP for being stronger. So I lost a few games there, but what it allowed me to do is it allowed me to get to level 9, which now allows me to put in even more Academy and become even stronger. So I am starting to lose here, unfortunately. So here I decided to put everything on Jace because of how much bonus damage it gives me. So each item gives me 5 bonus damage and 5% health. And that is double for Jace because he is an Academy unit. And I get 5% more. So each one of these Deathblade is giving me 15% more damage, in addition to the stats of the Deathblade itself. Here I get Jace 2, which is a good sign. I'm looking at opponents to see what my placements should be. The placement of my crystal allows the crystal to almost act like a shield. Whenever he casts, the units close to the crystal will receive more attack speed. And also, it will allow him to have a shield. Because every time that crystal is destroyed, it will get revived when he casts. So here I'm just looking for some kind of item. The best option here was just a spark. It will allow my Heimerdinger to do a little more damage. So here I decided to just stack my items. I put everything onto the Heimerdinger. Yeah, unfortunately I do come in third. Because the other teams were just not trolling. But overall, it was a really good game. I had tons of Academy items. It allowed me to come in third. It allowed me to stay in first place for quite some time. And overall, Academy is actually a very strong trait. So please take it, especially if you see a Vi encounter, if you see a Victor encounter. I really hope you consider Academy as what you want to go for that game. And additionally, if you see one of the traits related to a sponsored item or augments that's related to the sponsored item, definitely pick that and consider going Academy. Thank you. Shu, I hope you see this video. Let me know if you have any thoughts. For everyone else, if you have any thoughts, please also let me know. Thank you guys so much. Hope to see you guys again. Have a good day. Bye.